Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Man, I keep wanting to buy one of these cool Turkish semi-automatic clones of the Benelli M4 shotgun. Now, I found out today that Benelli M4s are actually made by Beretta. So they're probably pretty high. Well, I know they're high end. I mean, you don't end up in John Wick, a movie like John Wick anyway, without being really high end. But I'm not willing, I don't use a shotgun enough to spend the money for a Benelli M4, which is a semi-automatic tube-fed shotgun. They're wicked cool, and I've always loved the idea of a semi-automatic shotgun, but I don't like the magazine-fed ones because I don't see how they're going to overcome the rimmed cartridge in the geometry of the magazines they're trying to make. And, 5 rounds in a magazine is the same as in a tube, basically. And more often than not, nowadays you get 8 or 9 rounds in a normal tube. If you're using the little 1.5-inch shells or the 1-inch shells, you're getting, double that roughly. So it makes sense, especially for a home defense thing. But the boomer foot in me, every time I see them, these Turkish shotguns, I go, something's not right. There's no free lunch. So when you see a Benelli M4 for around, last time I saw one, they were about $1,100, maybe street price, okay? But that's in Farmington, New Mexico, where they're probably not in very high demand. Maybe a little more for some of the guys that do 2-gun or 3-gun in the area. But I like them, and I wanted to get one. Enter James Reeves. Now, this guy I've interacted with one time, actually, in, virtual land, where I talked about a 5.56 AK, and he was able to get, a 3-inch group, and I can do better with mine. I don't know why, but I can, okay? Anyway, James and I gave each other shit, and I liked it, and I started watching his show even more then. And then I started seeing he was doing these shotgun burn downs. So he's doing 500 rounds of 12 gauge, usually a mixed bag of shells. So there's usually double-aught buck in there, there's a slug, there's a light target round that is kind of inexpensive, and then there's a kind of eco-friendly ones that he uses. And there are varying charges, basically. So he's testing to see how the guns cycle. Now, James Reeves has done a crap ton of shotgun classes because the guy can kit out his shotgun to where any dude that is a gun guy looks at it and goes, oh, well, this makes sense. Case in point, one of the things he puts on there is he calls it a 12-gauge card. But it's a Velcro loop set to hold shotgun shells. Now, why I never thought of doing that on the side saddle instead of the hard metal or plastic side saddles is you can pull them off, put a new one on, and keep going. And because they're square, and you can pull them off in that way, they land in pouches better. So that's cool for a shotgun. But what was even cooler is he's burned down all shotguns. He's used Mossbergs. He's used their high-end 590s. They make a semi-automatic that I will buy as soon as I can find because that's probably about as close as I'm ever going to get to a Benelli M4. But I trust Mossberg. I own 2 Mossbergs. And I really, really think that as much as I use a shotgun, a pump's probably good for me. I just want a semi-automatic because I want to try to do some of the training that I've seen Keanu Reeves do for his 3-gun matches he was doing. Because believe it or not, he was nationally ranked in 3-gun for a while when he was training for the second John Wick movie and the first one a little bit. But I digress. He burned down one of these Turkish-made shotguns. Now, I've seen them on... They're basically clones of the Benelli M4, and you can kit one out with some of the same accessories, but you're starting to approach that price because those accessories are kind of Benelli exclusive type things, so they're going to be expensive anyway. So if you buy one of those accessories, you might as well just buy the gun because you're approaching that price, is what James was saying. But he tried. He ran that thing. He double lubed it, triple lubed it. It didn't help. The gun was, in AK parlance, or AR parlance, I would say, it was undergassed. It wasn't ejecting the cartridges, the empties, with any authority. So they would barely clear the gun if they cleared the gun. And more times than not, it didn't clear the gun. So much so that it became basically a straight pull bolt action shotgun. So James ended the test. Now, in the past, he's done Turkish shotguns, pump action ones or semi-automatic ones, and they all basically blow for the price. So you get what you pay for. Now, what's interesting there is I know of one Turkish-made firearm, the Canik TP 9 SA or DA or whatever version you want to talk about with them, actually rocks socks. And I'm suspecting that this is the shotguns that is, are made in a cheaper factory, and they're importing them under different names because they catch a reputation. Then that reputation gets tarnished, and then they want another manufacturer has basically the same shotgun, or another importer is importing the same shotgun from a different quote-unquote manufacturer in Turkey, but it's the same gun. They're made in the same factory. I agree with James with that, because you can see parts that normal gun manufacturers don't do that. You don't see American gun manufacturers in SIG making grip panels or grips for Glock. They just don't do that. But you could see the stocks, the tubes for the magazine for the shotgun, the bolt, the charging handles, the frame of the gun itself, like the receiver. They all look the same. And depending upon which forum you find them on, you'll hear different stories of them. Some people will get a good one and it'll run forever. Then you get one like James did. My advice for anyone that's thinking about this, because I keep fighting myself about doing it all the time. I see them come up on sale for a really good cheap price, and then I stop myself, because the only cheap gun I've ever bought, and I'm not even going to call it cheap, it was just extremely well priced, was my Ruger LCP Max. Number one, I didn't know the gun existed at the time. Number two, I got it for $50 or $60 under MSRP. Number three, I got it when they were in high demand. So I can say that gun, for the price point I got it at, which was sub 300 or 350 for that gun, I will not complain about that, and I think I got it at a screaming deal, and it has surprised me in every way. So much so that it's become a very often rotated in carry option for me. But these 12 gauges, what it always gets me is they're always so close to the Benelli, but like a third of the price. And that should be the indicator, right? I don't know, man. I hope you guys that are listening take the advice from James, take my advice, stay away from the Turkish shotguns. Let's just stick to the stuff we know. Mossberg, if you need an inexpensive shotgun, Mossberg makes a brand. It's made in the same type of stuff, but it's got some plastic parts in it. Trigger rings are the big ones. The Maverick 88, and James Reeves did a review on that. The guns are sub $300. 9 times out of 10, you can find them with 2 barrels, one to hunt turkeys, one for defending your home, and or goose or ducks or whatever else you want to hunt. But you can find them sub to $300, and I would trust that over one of those Turkish things any day of the week. Like, share, subscribe, be great.